Honourable Member for Maitland.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise to speak against the passage of this bill on privatisation. I note that I do so on behalf of my community in Maitland, who elected me to represent their views in this place. At the last election, I promised my community that I would fight for Maitland to put it first. The former member for Maitland was a nice person, but she resigned at the last election after losing, she's still a nice person, after losing her ministry and ultimately any voice she may have had in the Baird Liberal Government. When the former member started her campaign for the 55th Parliament, she promised that Maitland would have a brand new hospital and that the existing hospital would not be closed. She also promised 24/7 policing at Beresford, which serves my community at Woodberry and Thornton. She promised not to close the existing East Maitland District Courthouse. The candidate who stood against me at this last election proudly spoke of the Baird Liberal Government's $80 million worth of promises in my electorate. And I think it's timely in this debate, when the government's saying, trust us, this is the only way that we can get infrastructure into regional communities, we should examine their record on how the acquittal of that nearly $80 million actually went. Of the $20 million committed on the new Lower Hunter Hospital, the government's produced only a $6 million sign at Medford. Of the $45 million for the railway roundabout at the New England Highway, the project's incomplete, behind time, and the Minister for Roads won't answer questions in the other place on whether it will be flood-proofed or not. The $2 million for the Maitland Town Hall has only just started, and there's $7 million for upgrading Sports Ground Number 1, which is still uncompleted. Indeed, the only grant that was fully acquitted in that last $80 million of promises was the $5 million loan for upgrading the Maitland Levy project. But of course that's a loan, so you get the money back. No, pretty easy to give that one away. Interest-free. Interest-free. My community has 70 million reasons, Madam Deputy Speaker, to therefore not trust this government to deliver any benefits as a result of privatisation of electricity. The Premier has been broadly sprouting the benefits of privatisation to my community, but the $42 million that was promised in this last election only relies on $7 million from the sale of electricity. $7 million. Is it really worth to lose the infrastructure of our community? Labor's promises, on the other hand, would have been for the following items: $40 million for a new high school in Maitland, $25 million for a new primary school, $25 million matching yours to start on the new Lower Hunter Hospital, and we actually would have started on it, that's the funny bit. $7 million to extend the dual lanes on New England Highway at Rutherford, that's your privatisation promise. And $1 to $1.5 million to establish a Hunter domestic violence court, $100,000 to fix the lights at Marcellin Park, $51,000 for the Maitland and Namit BMX Club, and $12,500 for students to go to Gallipoli, and a $10,000 sign at Morpeth. All up, Deputy Speaker, that amounts to about $98 million, about, over double what these guys have promised. And under Labor's plan, guess what? They still got to keep their electricity network. Wow. Madam Deputy Speaker, the important issue that we should remember here when we come to this place is that we have an obligation and an absolute trust with our people to be true to the people who put us here. Yesterday, the opposition tried to rewrite history on their disappointing results in the last state election. The member for Port Stephens is to be congratulated, Madam Deputy Speaker, for correcting the record and showing the number of swings of more than 20% against them. And in country areas, we have actually increased our country health seats in this place by 200%. That's a pretty good result for country Labor. And we've made significant impacts in their electorates. In this election, the Nationals just 9 months before made quite a number of statements about privatisation. And so what did they say? So Pickley, the deputy leader at that time, said, I know in my electorate people have made it very clear they don't want their local electricity poles and wires to be sold, and I agreed with them. But the member for Clarence was told by his stars, it was quoted, their horoscope, Sagittarius had said to him he needed to go this way, and there was no good in selling the poles and wires as far as I'm concerned. We'll lose jobs through the privatisation process, of that I'm sure. So all of these comments were just made, and The people of country Australia and country New South Wales had a right to expect that the National Party would stand up for people in country communities. But of course, no, they did a deal, and I think we can see the presence of the Deputy Premier here, a member for Dubbo, when he says, we're currently opposed is the Nationals' position. And as I've said, when asked this question, I'm not going to vote for anything that's a bad deal. I'm not going to vote for anything that's a bad deal for my electorate. So he said that back in June 2014. So obviously the Nationals have done a deal for some of their electorates, but they haven't quite done them all. So I've been informed today by one of my colleagues that Lithgow and Candace, the electricity company's endeavour is 50.4% is up for sale, and Ausgrid in orange is 50.4% up for sale. So the Nationals can no longer make the statement that they've done a deal to protect their workers in country areas and that country jobs and country services aren't at risk. The government, by these figures, is selling off more than their 50% stake. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Premier has the right to introduce this bill to the Parliament. That is correct. Swings of 20% and more against the National Party members should make them rethink their support for it. And it should definitely make their communities in local towns rethink their support at the next election, and hopefully you'll be booted out. I don't need some random guy from Guyra.
We'll still run a Liberal against you.
I don't need some random guy from Guyra who no one in the state of New South Wales has actually voted in on his own merits. I don't need him. He swans around in my electorate at the public's expense. There's the member for the Minister for the Hunter. But not good enough. Sorry, Upper Hunter, you missed out this time. So I don't need some random guy from Guyra who swans around the Hunter and Central Coast at the public's expense, who's not answerable to anyone in this place or that place, who can't be asked a question in the Upper House. I don't need him to tell me how to vote on electricity privatisation, because I tell you, Madam Deputy Speaker, I have listened to my community and they have told me resoundingly no, and that is how I'll be voting.